Hi students, you are going to learn about early childhood care and education, which is termed as ECCE in India, ECE and ECD. Early childhood care and education movement in India goes back to later half of the 19th century. ECCE is a traditional practice in India by the grandparents and elder sisters. India has the largest child population, 170 million, that is 15% of total population of the country. In 2013, it is estimated that 72 million children will be in need of preschool education service. ECCE is significant in the developmental need of the child, which is the right of equality. ECCE is a part of education for all and first step in the educational ladder. By learning this lesson, you will understand the status of ECCE in India, realize the significance of ECCE, ECE, ECD to the future citizens of our country, understand the efforts taken by the government, private, NGO for the welfare of the children. Importance of early childhood years is very necessary to understand for this lesson. The first 6 years in a child's life is the most significant period in life because this is the stage when the foundation is laid for the overall development of an individual in terms of his, her motor, sensory, cognitive, language, social and emotional development. This is the period when the brain is developing at its fastest pace, and researchers has proved that if a child does not get a stimulating environment at this age, the child is likely to lose out on developing to his, her full potential. Stimulation. Brain development is very fast and 80% of it is over by 8 years. Neural connections in brain development take place even when the child is in mother's womb. Aim of stimulation is towards the overall development of children. Many researchers have proved that providing good nutrition and health care during early years is the investment for child's later development, which has long-term effect on the part of child's overall development, family status and national growth. It is practically found that children who participated in the well-designed stimulation schemes such as ECE centers, Anganwadis are helping children to be academically good in primary school, socially and emotionally more competent, higher in verbal and communicative skills, welfare scheme for the child, which in turn leads to economic success in later life, inculcation of habits and values to last a lifetime. Aims at future development, the individual should step into successful career, thereby contributes for the economic growth of the country. Increase the child's survival level, health and development. In order to protect the child from diseases, thereby reduces the IMR, that is infant mortality rate, and increases the school enrollment. Stimulation program which helps the downtrodden people thereby reduce the poverty level of the country. Having this in mind, since it is useful for child's growth and in turn for national development, UNESCO supported ECCE in its policy. Early stimulation enables the ability for total development. Why is ECCE important? India's children are the future of the country. If their development is taken care of in terms of survival, protection, development and participation, they grow well. These children contribute a lot to the nation's development and women empowerment. In olden days, joint family system contributed a lot to rear the children in the ways of being role model, disciplining and recreating the children. At present, due to breakup of joint family into nuclear family systems, children are left over in the hands of ayahs, that is servants. Due to inequality in society, the socio-economic status of the large number of family live in poverty situation, because of which children's development is at risk. However, the stimulation and care that can be offered by parents are limited. It therefore becomes imperative to provide such stimulation and care in a structured and organized manner through established center of intervention, that is ECCE centers. ECCE centers provide healthcare, nutrition, play opportunity and cognitive development. The infant mortality rate of India is still very high. Secondly, malnutrition is a major cause of ill health of Indian children. The third aspect of ECCE in the opportunities for learning. Thus, in the context of country's commitment to the basic education for all, ECCE emerges as an area of priority. Improving children's well-being at the earliest age must be an integral and systematic component of education and poverty reduction policies. Now you would have understood what is ECCE. Let us learn in detail. Early childhood care and education is generally defined as the care and education of children from birth to 8 years. ECCE aims at the promotion of motor, physical, social, emotional, language, cognitive and moral development. The ECCE center has different strategies of children. They are creches or home stimulation for 0 to 3 years, preschool for 3 to 6 years and primary education for 8 years. Now let us see the importance of ECCE how. ECCE is a child-centered program which focuses on the playway method of learning. Importance of ECCE are to provide experiences for the learning process, fulfill the right of children, smooth transition from ECCE to primary education, support parents and mothers who are employed, meet the needs of changing family structure, promote girls' education, cater to the increased rate of brain development, remove the social inequality and investment in human resource development. Now what is ECEC? Early childhood education. It is an education provided to children below the age of 8 years in a stimulating environment which leads to formal school readiness. The program components relate to the developmental needs of children and the fundamental skills needed for their later learning. We have to see what are the strategies lies behind ECCE implementation. Diverse strategies to provide stimulative environment, all strategies to be highly integrated and supportive to each other, scope for every child's participation, not confined to duration, centers to enthuse the participation level of different age group children, informal and provides scope for a lot of flexibility and innovation, develops familiarity with the persons, provides learning environment, gives secure feeling, promotes socialization, means for language development and basis for habit formation. Now, what is ECD? Early childhood development. Various dimensions of child's development is at its peak from birth to 6 years, which include development of self. Provisions in ECCE maximize the child's ability during the crucial time of infancy and early childhood foster social and cognitive growth of the child. Now let us see how ECCE was prevalent in India during pre-independence period and what is the situation in the present period. Organized preschool education did not exist in India till the end of 19th century. The information available from 17th century onwards indicates that child rearing seems to have been according to socio-religious patriarchal norms and was highly influenced by factors such as caste, kinship, age and gender. The institutional services existed only for the rich upper classes. British missionaries introduced the concept of infant school in the later part of the 18th century, situated in western and southern regions of India. Owing to a large school dropout, these infant schools were closed. Mahatma Gandhi proposed the first indigenous scheme for education of very young children, which was termed as pre-basic education. These schools were formulated by various educational reformers, social workers and pioneers being Jagatram Bai Dave, Nana Bai Bhatt and Tarabai Modat. But the prominent influence of ECCE, which can be felt even today, is of Madame Maria Montessori, who came to India in 1939. Influenced by her, Annie Besant and Rukmani Arundel helped Montessori to set up a teacher training center at Adayar near Madras. Many of the early childhood educators received training and spread the movement of early childhood education at various parts of the country. Later, the trained teachers attempted to develop an indigenous educational system that is integrated the basic Gandhian philosophy with the educational principles and scientific pedagogy of Montessori, Jijubai Badega and Tarabai Mode, and established the Nutan Bal Section Sangh. In 1945, Tarabai Modak took the preschool movement to village, started Bal Section Kendra for the education of rural children, and she named it as Balwadi, meaning children's garden. Bal means children and Wadi means a garden. Post-independence period, what happened? Let us see. It was for the first time in 1944, Sergeant Committee 1944 appointed by Education Department of Central Advisory Board of Education identified the importance of pre-primary education and linked it with the child's educational performance in primary school. In 1946, Kasturba Gandhi Trust was set up with the aim of training women workers for Balwadis. In the post-independence period too, preschool education drew support largely from the private and voluntary sectors. Through many official committees, plans and commissions made valuable suggestions on the value and content of preschool education. No substantial allocations or systematic efforts for implementation of these suggestions were made. Panandikan Committee 1949 recommended 33.5% of sanctioned budgets to be given as granting aid for preschool education. It also stressed on the appointment of experts in early childhood education to inspect preschool. Central Social Welfare Board was established in 1953 during first 5-year plan. Now let us see what was the position for ECCE in 5-year plans. 1950-56 first 5-year plan, initiative to give shape to Balwadis and creches. 1956-61 second 5-year plan, maternal and child health programs were given major impetus as part of welfare extension project. 1961-66, that is third 5-year plan, ECCE as the base of the national system of education was formally recognized. Central Social Welfare Board appointed a committee to survey the childcare needs and status in the country. Recommendations were made to include health, nutrition and recreation along with preschool education. Training centers were set up for training the Bala Sevikas. 1964, Indian Association for Preschool Education came into existence under Societies Registration Act to promote preschool education in different parts of the country. 1967 to 72, that is 4th 5-year plan, included preschool education into educational system. Efforts were made to train teachers, production of teaching materials. Many conferences and seminars were organized to discuss about the various concepts and approaches. 1973-77, 5th 5-year plan. Focus on child welfare in rural, tribal and slum areas. Paradigm shift in preschool education. National Children's Board was constituted. Integrated Child Development Scheme, which is called as ICDS, was introduced in 33 experimental areas which provided better supplementary nutrition, immunization, regular health checkup, referral services and nutrition and health education during the first 6 years in a child's life. 1978 to 82, 6th 5-year plan. A more broad-based nomenclature of ECCE replaced the earlier name of preschool education. 1983-87, that is the 7th plan, in which special attention was given to welfare of the mother and child belonging to the underprivileged strata of the society. The program became more comprehensive in scope, integrated in nature and systematically planned for the development of the total child. 1988-92, during the 8th plan, accelerated expansion in the coverage of children in ECE. During 93-97, 9th plan, integrated child development of ECE and services in the earlier plans was reiterated. Prioritized that provisions and inputs for ECE as investment in human resource development. Women groups were roped into manage ECCE programs. Shift in approach during 1998-2002 during the 10th plan to from preschool to ECCE services. Right-based approach to child development, advocated number of strategies to reduce the child mortality rate and improve support services for taking protective and preventive measures. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan SSA focused total child development services. MHRD, Ministry of Human Resource Development report revealed that only 22% of the children benefited under ECCE program. 14.27% of primary schools have attached ECCE. Policy provisions for child development. During 1974, National Policy on Children was formulated. 1986, National Policy on Education. During 1992, National Plan and State Plan of Action for Children. During 1992, India ratified Convention on Rights of the Child. During 1993, National Nutrition Policy. 2000, National Policy on Population. 2001, National Policy on Empowerment of Women. 2002, National Health Policy. Interministerial Coordination. Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Ministry of Human Resource Development, Department of Education and Literacy. ECC services in India are of in three fronts: government, private and non-government. In government, Integrated Child Development Scheme ICDS started in 1975, Early Childhood Education Scheme, Scheme of Assistance to Voluntary Organization, National Crush Fund, ECCE under Primary Elementary Education Program, District Primary Education Program, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Mahila Samakhya, Jan Shala, convergence model of ECCE preschools attached to pre-primary sections. Voluntary and NGOs initiatives primarily work with special communities on difficult circumstances like tribal people, migrant laborers and rural children. laboratory nursery schools attached to universities, various religious groups run preschools, commercial preschools in which fees were high, nurseries, kindergarten, Montessori type and primary classes in private schools. Evaluation of the child in ECCE: why, when and how. ECCE is totally development welfare oriented and not curriculum oriented. Hence, there is no necessary for formal test, but informal evaluation is required for developmental attainment. All aspects of development to be assessed for each child, and group evaluation is not advised. Children have to be assessed in the natural setup when they are in the play yard, do the creative activities and answer to the questions, and during free play. Formulated worksheet may be used to observe and make quick assessment. If some specific problems are there, to be discussed with parents immediately and help the parents to take remedial measures. Let us see how ECCE is a challenging one. The researchers showing that early education programs on children's education have very strong and rich benefits, and the learning method have captured the attention of many. There are instances where children missed out early childhood service, which leads to underdevelopment. Increasing early childhood participation, including evidence of some preschool growth, is encouraging so that the underserved children who did not get enough attention can be benefited from this. There are lot of challenges that exist in running the ECCE programs, and they are exploring the potential of ECCE. Basically, ICDS is a worldwide famous integrated approach for total development of children, which unite these sectoral services with the aim to promote child's survival, growth and participation, which go hand in hand. Unfortunately, in spite of the advantages of ICDS, it is far below the described level. To conserve the spirit of holistic and integrated approach, it requires assimilation of bureaucratic organization and various sectors of development and specialized compartmentalization in its process of implementation. ECCE needs recognition. Many preschool institutions are run by private sector. These efforts have played an important role in introducing the ECCE concept in the beginning of the century. The private initiatives are to be recognized as an essential part of the educational system of the country. Low status of ECCE. The modern perception of ECCE is that it interferes in solving a wide range of problems occur due to the poverty such as malnutrition, disease and high rate of school dropout. It is commonly believed that not much skill-based or technical knowledge is required for planning, implementing and monitoring such programs. The general awareness of the professionals and technical aspects of ECCE is quite poor. The public does not have much awareness on the importance or need of ECCE services. Access. Since National Policy on Education and POA were adopted, large attention has been given at the national level in the last 2 decades. Issues who are going for ECCE services, which communities do not have access to ECCE services, which is creating access, or government, private sector or NGOs, and what are the factors determining access for the major concerns. Capacity building. To build a quality workforce, capacity building is needed. There are not well developed training systems for early childhood educators except the government's involvement in ECCE. Qualification requirements exist only for teachers and not for the others. There is no laid down norms for appointment of ECCE staff, and there are no guidelines for the deduction of ECCE staff as teachers. Training for the newcomers, period of training into theory and practice are some of the problems in ECCE. Advocacy. Parents from all walks of life and at all levels have little or no awareness about the importance of early years in the life of children or about how to promote their children's development. To sensitize the public, from parents to policy makers, a wide and sustained campaign is needed. Awareness to be created among the public about the significance of early years of children, and also purpose, content and scope of the ECCE. Community, children, community participation is the key to the advocacy as it empowers people and leads to sustainability. Now I would like to conclude the lessons we learned from that. Pre and post independent initiatives in the area of preschool education clearly indicates that there is a growing awareness and a gradual rise in private and government efforts for preschool education is going on. Preschool education is now a part of the total early childhood education. As per the latest policy documents of ECE in India, will ensure good basic learning conditions for children, professionally trained teachers, basic infrastructure, ECCE curriculum and all-round development of children.